Good morning, YouTube. It's 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and today we are doing the Tumbleweed Bowl. So, if you live in West Texas or have ever lived in, the western part of the United States, tumbleweeds are a big issue. And here in West Texas, we have tumbleweed storms, sandstorms, and these things will blow into your yard. And I have a ton of them, and this is actually just a small portion of the actual tumbleweeds that have blown in recently. So what I decided to do was to do a tumbleweed bowl, and got some of them from the alley, mixed them up, kind of crushed them up, put them in this little pot here that we've done with some other projects. Just going to get a nice mold in there, and all we're doing is taping these down so they don't end up floating. And going to use some East Coast epoxy, almost using the full 2 quarts on this one, but just added a little bit of baby blue dye on there, and all we're going to do is mix that up just to prevent the yellowing and add a little bit more. And for some reason, this is going to end up turning green, as you can see from the thumbnail. It's not going to look baby blue. It's going to look more green than anything else. And we're going to pour this in to our mold. And initially, I didn't think that this would turn out too well. I've had so much stuff going on recently. I haven't had a real opportunity to get into the shop and make anything. I actually did this project about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then ended up finding the time to turn it on the actual lathe itself. So 4.5 hours in the pressure pot. You can see here, really good casting, not a lot of bubbling, taking the tape off, and the mold comes out absolutely beautiful. I probably had so much success with this one only because I let this set up for like literally weeks before I ended up taking it out of the mold itself. And this thing just popped right out, no issues whatsoever. And you can see here, it looks already a little bit green, but looks really cool. You can see all the cool tumbleweeds in there, and if you've ever had to deal with tumbleweeds, they're just basically, a hindrance on your yard, and they blow in, when the wind kicks up here in West Texas. So what I ended up doing was sanding down the top portion of it, just so that we can get the waste block on there, and you've seen me do this a million different times. So we actually finished this project up last week. Like I said, I actually did this mold almost a month and a half ago, and just haven't had time to get to the actual project itself. We finished the actual project about a week and a half ago, and now you guys are watching this basically in real time for the most part. So today, when you guys are watching this, is Sunday, February 26th, and we finished this literally like last week, getting the entire project done. When I initially set this up, I literally have not been in the workshop in like almost a month, only because of so much stuff going on, and I haven't had the time to make anything. But I really did not expect this project to go that well. I ended up switching back and forth between a couple of different chisels, round carbide with the actual bowl gouge itself, and I'm just trying to get that superficial layer off like we do with all of our projects. And this one, for the most part, didn't have any real major issues. I think the only issue I had was basically just getting everything, circular and everything cylindrical like we usually do. But I think the only thing that I wish I would have done a little bit different was maybe taking my time a little bit more on the actual gouging port, and you'll see that here in a little bit later. But if you go back and watch my videos from like 2 years ago, I tried to do like organic material before where I had pine cones in there, and basically the pine cones, I don't know if there was moisture in these pine cones, but they ended up ruining the entire blanket, and I was kind of fearful for that with this one. But I've lived in West Texas long enough, and I've had so many tumbleweeds attack my house in the past couple of years that I knew this material was dry enough to where I really wasn't too concerned about that, how the epoxy would react to that. But the epoxy ended up reacting pretty well to the tumbleweeds themselves. And I was really, I was kind of surprised, but not really, because I was like, it's just dead grass, basically. Or dead branches, kind of branches, but not really. But the epoxy took really well to it. The chisels felt really good. Really didn't have a lot of issues with that, and here we are just making the mortise. Not a lot of concerns, and I think that it has a lot to do with the material being so dry, and just the fact that we just really took our time with this one, because my biggest concern also doing this project was I haven't done a project in about a month. I haven't been in the workshop. I haven't made anything. And I was really afraid that I was going to end up getting a lot of chipping, a lot of fraying, things like that. If you go back and watch some of my other videos, you've noticed, if you take time away from stuff, sometimes you just forget. But in this instance, it was kind of just like riding the bike. Once we popped off the actual waste block there, everything went pretty smooth from this part. And now all we're doing is getting that superficial layer off like we usually do with these projects, just making sure everything is nice and even before we start the actual gouging portion of it. And the gouging didn't go incredibly horrible, like I stated earlier. I think my biggest concern was, like, once the material started hitting the actual branches of the tumbleweed, had a little bit of resistance, but not a whole lot. You can see the shifting of the actual lathe itself. That's just me pushing up against the table, because you gotta kind of have to be a little bit of aggressive with it, because once the epoxy sets up, it doesn't like melt on the chisel like it usually does, because usually most of the time I let about 48 hours go by before I actually start the gouging process, or actually working with a piece like this. But went pretty smooth. We got to a nice round depth. And the lip of the bowl itself, admittingly, I left a little bit thicker than usual, only because I wanted to be able to see the branches and everything that was in the actual epoxy itself. And I love how this bowl ended up turning out. If you wait to the end of the video, you can see just how gorgeous the actual tumbleweed looks in the epoxy. And I'm probably going to do some more projects like this a little bit later, where I'll probably do multiple colors. The next one I want to do is like a bright red kind of color. And believe me, there's no shortage of tumbleweeds here in West Texas. Like, you guys are literally watching this in February. We're still getting these horrible dust storms and horrible winds that are blowing all of these tumbleweeds in. And you can see all this material worked off of this particular project. And, there's the actual lathe itself. And, I just now remembered, kind of the other concern I had was there was it's so dry here in West Texas right now. I could actually smell some of the actual tumbleweed burning while I was gouging, and I was really concerned that it was going to start a spark and ended up, catching my entire garage on fire. And that was a really real concern, but luckily that didn't happen. So here we are, almost toward the end, sanding 340 all the way up to 1500, and now we're just going to do the micro mesh, doing some wet sanding. We did wet sanding all through this, and we really took our time with this. Definitely paid off in the end, using entire sheets of sandpaper just to make sure that we got this cool smooth look. And now we're just hitting it with that wood wax. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Love how this turned out. Like I said, we're going to do this project again later on in the year probably, because really loved how this turned out. This turned out more green than it did blue, but really loved how this turned out. Here when I stop the lathe, you can really see all the branches and everything in the tumbleweed itself. Really loved how this turned out. Just absolute gorgeous. Like I said, haven't been in the workshop in about a month, but it's like riding a bike. Just remember how it goes, and not a whole lot of issues on this one. So really happy how this one turned out. So hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, today is February 26, 2023. I finished this project literally last week, so instead of projects being a year out or more, just more recent kind of stuff. So hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys got something out of it. Don't forget to subscribe, and eventually we will do our 1000th subscriber bowl. So I'll check you guys out in the next one. All right, peace. All right, so project is done. So here we are. The tumbleweed bowl, and I gotta say, this one turned out a lot better than I thought it was gonna do. Than I thought it would do. I guess it's early in the morning. It is almost 6 a.m. the 18th of February 2022. You guys are probably watching this next week. So usually I put these videos out like way in advance, but Texas is under a dust storm right now, and my house looks like I live in the desert, but it's like a sandbox in my front yard, and you saw all those tumbleweeds. So this is what tumbleweeds look like in resin. And I'm probably going to do some more of these bowls in different colors, in different shapes probably, but really like how this turned out. I guess since the material was so dry, it makes it a lot easier to kind of deal with. But really happy how this turned out. More green than blue. I just put the green in there just to kind of give it, you know, I don't know, a little extra something, I guess. But overall, really happy. Haven't actually done a bowl project in a couple of months. Just getting back to it. Wasn't originally going to do this one, but got it done. And really happy how it turned out. So, hope you guys liked the video, all that good stuff. If you guys are curious, I will be putting out a 1,000th subscriber video at some point. We finally hit that mark after 4 years. Anyway, it's cold. I gotta go inside. It's early in the morning. But happy with this bowl. Alright, hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, peace.